Oh, that's perfect. Thank you very much, Rohini,
Thank you.
for this very generous introduction. My name is Arvind Gupta, and I've been a toy maker all my life. As a child, like you, I used to make, I came from my parents had never been to school. We couldn't afford to buy any of these factory toys or from the shops. So we just made our own toys, whatever was available. So I've been a tinkerer almost all my life and like working with my hands. And much later, after my college, I went to a program called the Hoshangabad Science Teaching Program. This was started by a pioneer who wanted to make science fun for village children, where there are no science labs at all. And you know that during the pandemic, whether you have a science lab in the school or you don't have it, it's the same thing. For the last 1.5 years, millions of kids, almost 30 crore children in our country, have been forced to stay at home so they have no access to any lab. So it makes a lot of sense to learn science with something which is available at the house or with very minimal kinds of things. And I'm going to give you small examples of that. I'll start with a straw, a simple straw. Here is a straw, a good quality straw. This is not the recycled one. And what I do is I press one side and I'm going to cut 2 slants. And you can see this becomes it has become a kind of a pencil point, like a spear point. And if you see from the side, it's like a mouth. It's like a baby crocodile's mouth. This is like a reed. I'm going to put this in my mouth and blow my lungs out. It makes quite a racket. You're not able to see how the sound is produced because this reed which vibrated was hidden in my mouth. I'm going to keep this outside and you see the sound. Now I'm sucking in air, and if I suck in air, just concentrate on this end. It's vibrating. That vibrations produce sound. You don't need to mug it up. You can actually experience it, hear the sound, hear the joy. And then the concept is multidimensional and it seeps in much better. What we did was we just made 2 holes over here. There are 2 holes in this. So we are inching towards a kind of a flute. You can play a few notes with it. And with the last experiment with this is very, very endearing. You may forget all the things, but this is something which is going to cling to you. I'm going to blow at it and make the sound. And simultaneously with the scissors, I'm just going to cut it shorter and shorter, and something very magical happens. So you can see all the various notes, and we saw that the longer the straw, the lower the pitch. And the shorter it becomes, the higher the pitch goes. And you can see the shortest straw, a very, very high pitch. And then this is what children, I'm always learning from children because children are real scientists. They're not copycats. If you ask them to go left, they go right. They just do the opposite, and there is great hope in that. This is disobedience. That's what Gandhi talked about, civil disobedience. And there is great hope in children that they're not obedient. And they do their original things. Look at this. You can make some very, very funny sounds with this. Now with straws, we've done some 60, 70 experiments just with straws. This is a slightly fat straw. And what I've done over here is, with the scissors, cut these 3, 4 V joints. You can see these V. They're very deep V's. There is a thread over here, which is woven through the straw. There is a knot you can see, and there is a golden tail. So the thread goes through this. Now look at this. If I just pull this thread, what happens? It's just like this. It's simulating the finger. It's like a robotic finger, you can say. But very simple, because plastic has a tendency to jump back, so it comes back to its original position. It's very nice. But the very nice, simple toy is that this is a fat straw. It's a spinner. First of all, just before I explain this to you, what it does, This is the blowing straw, the green one, which goes inside this. I shut this end with my fingertip and I blow. And how is this made? You just take a fat straw, seal both the ends with tape, flatten them, and then with the scissors, cut this corner. So there is a little hole over here. So two diametrically opposite holes. And then you take this one, fold this into half, and both these corners. So you see a diamond inside. And there is a hole over here. You can see in this blowing straw, there is a hole. You put it inside, shut this hole. Now this hole ensures that air would come at right angles when I blow. So these are the three little toys made from straws, plastic straws. What we often do is take all our old magazines, newspapers, cut them into squares. This is the cheapest paper away. Right. Now, this is a toy which, when I was a child, like 5 or 6 years old, I made this. You just fold along the diagonal, and you make a small triangle, and you still make a smaller triangle. And this looks like the letter V, V for van, V for victory. Now, these two look like the ears of an animal. And I'm just, no scissors, just with my fingers, I'm just going to tear two long and slightly rounded ears and fold this. Now, this, it's a 10-second toy. You make a rabbit. And this, it's a flapping ear rabbit. It costs no money. The poorest child in the world can make a toy like that. And because it's so dynamic, it's very attractive. It's very engaging for children. I'm going to show you some other paper toys. This is from a quarter A4 size paper. From one sheet of paper, you can make 4 of these toys. And this is called as a clapper. You will see details about this. There are videos of each of these toys on my website. And do this. So here is a clapping toy. There is a kind of paper. You can see that below there is a trough over here. There's a depression over here, which is essentially a spring which brings us back. Just like the rabbit, this is I learned from the Chinese, and again a 2-minute toy, not very difficult. I work with children, and I don't make very complicated origami things because children get bored with them. They should get their gratification within 5 minutes, 10 minutes, not more than that. And look at this toy. This is a flapping butterfly. It's a 2-minute toy. We documented this into both video and into books, but very, very nice. It just simulates the flapping of the wings of a butterfly. Well, there are many other paper toys. Now, this is something called as a flat paper flexicle. And I will show you what this does to you. Now, you need 2 squares of this side. This is about 4 inches on one side. You need 2 squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That's the last number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So it's like an unending book. You just need a little bit of glue and 2 squares of paper and a scissors. It's a 3-minute toy. And then every child has her own favorite story, which she can hear 50 times without getting bored. The children take up the story which they like, and they divide this into 14 steps, and they put pictures over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 pictures, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 13, 14. Every child has a moving, rotating, dynamic picture book, and which costs no money. And this is a great project for any school, any household to take up. Now, this is called as a flexible. This was invented by a mathematician at Harvard in 1928, almost 90 years since Arthur Stone made this. Now, here's a piece of paper, and you can just keep rotating. It's amazing that you can rotate paper without the paper tearing. And there are 4 pictures. You can see butterflies, frogs, snakes, eagles, butterflies, frogs, snakes, eagles. 4 pictures coming in sequence one after the other. And if you have 4 pictures, you can weave a story in them. And what is the story over here? That the insects are eaten by the frogs. Frogs are eaten by the snakes. Snakes are eaten by the eagles. It's like a little food chain. So very nice way of learning food chains is through this flexicon. Martin Gardner wrote, he used to collate a maths puzzle for the Scientific American, did this for almost 50 years. And there is a chapter in one of his books on the history of the flexicon. Very, very. The nicest thing about this is that if you have an A4 size paper like this, even it's printed on one side, with just a scale and a pencil, no glue, no scissors. In 3 minutes, you can fold this flexicon. There's no glue over here. And then you can use it. It's just limited by your imagination. You could use it. It's not just used for saying cycles. We have a cycle of a butterfly life cycle. 2 butterflies laying, a butterfly lays eggs, and from the egg emerges the caterpillar. The caterpillar is often so hungry, it eats the eggshell itself, and then it nibbles in the leaves, and then at one stage, it fattens and becomes a chrysalis and just goes off to sleep. And then from this emerges the monarch butterfly, which once again mates and lays eggs. So you can just limit it by your imagination. Just a piece of paper, a scale, and a pencil. In 3 minutes, we probably made more flexicons than anyone else in the world. Right? If you have a small piece of paper, you can make a smaller flexicon. So there is a whole world of paper toys which are dynamic in nature. Children like dynamic toys, which make sound, which fly. One of the most beautiful toys is a little strip of paper. You can take a long strip of paper, short. You can try various sizes. You can see, oh no, there are 2 cuts over here marked with blue, and I can just interlock these cuts. You can see what I made. It looks like a fish. A fish is supposed to swim in water, but this is a flying fish. If I just leave this, just come whirling down. If you stay on some top floor of an apartment building, then you can just throw it and it will just keep whirling and come down. So this is the flying fish. Children love these kinds of toys which have a dynamic element. Again with the square, this is from a newspaper. This is a bird. Now, this is a flapping bird. If you learn nothing in the world, this is worth learning. Kids in Japan have been making this for the last 300 years. It's recorded history of this. Unmatched for 300 years, the flapping bird. Look at this. No glue, no scissors, just this little square in your 10 little fingers, and you can make this. Very amazing. Unmatched in its simplicity and its elegance. And what we did was that we just took the same bird and now you can see that just put a little propeller on its tail. This becomes a fantail bird. There is a refill over here, ballpoint refill. A pin is spinning inside the ballpoint refill, and this is like you make a paper helicopter. And so this becomes, you can just see this. This is a fantail bird. A very, very nice to make. I'm going to show you some toys which are made from matchsticks. Now, this is an empty matchbox, and this was an experiment done almost 50 years back in our country. Every child in the school was given a matchbox, the same brands with the same size, and they were given a week's task time. The teacher said that you take this matchbox home and fill it with small things, but you can't have 2 of the same things in this, 1 specimen of each. And the child who packs in the maximum number of things in the matchbox within a span of a week gets some color crayons or some small gift like that. And then the children went back home and they started for the first time for looking for small things inside the house. The mother was cooking poha and they saw 1 mustard seed. Oh, that's very nice thing, small thing. This. Take a bit of jeera, cumin, put a cumin seed, a red chili seed, right? A strand of hair, a small piece of thread. For 1 week, they kept looking for small things around them. for the first time, critically looking at what was small inside the house. Can I take a piece of rubber band, small rubber band, and put this in? Can I take a sliver of paper and put this in? Can I take this piece of straw, for instance, a cut straw, it's a different material, and I put this in? A child was able to pack in 150 things into the matchbox. Cost no money at all to do this. You don't need to be a very rich school to be able to do an experiment like that. Every school can do that. And science in a democratic country should be democratic. All sections of our society should be able to do science. Otherwise, it becomes a preserve of an exclusive few, which should not be the case. Another experiment, this matchbox. We have done some 30, 40 toys, just matchbox. Now, here's a toy. Now, what we've done is, this is the outside drawer, and I put 2 paper clips. You can see 2 paper clips, and I've taped them. And the paper clip is popping 2 millimeters outside. And so that I can weave a thread over here. That's it. And the drawer is maximum outside. So there is more weight away from the paper. That's it. That's what the toy is. And if I just hold it, you can see. It comes down with little jerks like this, right? It's like a shimmering fish, because there's so much more. This is gravity and friction, both working simultaneously in this toy. It's a very nice toy. And you can do what happens if I push the drawer in, what would happen. Another toy with a matchbox is a kind of this is like a train, matchbox train. You see, I have a matchbox and I just hold both this loop of thread. And this is my right side. If I just move my right hand, what happens to the matchbox? It's moving like a train. And I can stick a picture of a rabbit on this and look like a rabbit going hop, hop, hop. I can actually make a train engine and stick it on this. And you can have not just one, you can put a dozen matchboxes. And you can make this loop very, very long and it will look like a train going on the railway track. So very simple to make toy. This is another one with straws, as you can see. In our traditional melas, festivals, we used to get this made from reeds. But I don't see this now, but you can, with straws. Now this is like a striking snake. Very fascinating mechanism. And as you can see close by, these are paper pins. I've just put the paper pins in and folded. I'll see from the side, they've just been folded with the plier. So that the poke. So this becomes a very nice toy. Another nice toy is a traditional toy is a thing like that. This is made with the palmyra leaf, as you can see that. Like, if I just spin the stick, this is a very good demonstration for centrifugal force. If you spin something, it tends to fly out. But you may not find this, but you can very easily make it like this. This is what we made. Now you can see this is a kind of acrobat where the body and the head are double. They're 2 layers. And there's a crevice between those two layers. You can put the arms and the hands, and with a needle and a thread, you just tie a knot, pull out the needle and tie another knot. If you see closely, you can see the knots over here. These are the knots. So they're like hinges, and this toy does. And if I spin this both the hands, it's like a flying man, right? Centrifugal force spins things out. Children learn a great deal without being taught. They're very clever, right? So children will discover many things themselves. And if they discover some things by their own selves, the conceptual grasp is much deeper. And then all these definitions, formulae would fall into place. They need a very rich experiential base, seeing many things. And there are some other dynamic toys. This is 2 straws. You just see this. It's like a flying crane. You can see this is a fruity straw, a very thin straw. This is a normal straw. The fruity straw goes, and the end of this normal straw are just taped to the wings of this. And very, very nice. Very, very elegant. So this is another paper toy, which is, this is made from any card sheet. You can see this. It's an exercising man. You can see the back of it. This is a broomstick. This is a fruity straw, a bit of tape over here, and any card sheet. But a very, very dynamic toy. And children, sitting ducks are sitting ducks. Kids get bored with them, but something which moves, makes sound, spins, flies, are endlessly fascinating for children. So something which moves. So I've always been interested in dynamic toys which move. There is an element of motion, just like a flapping butterfly, like that. Similarly. Now, this is, see this toy, this is a skeleton. And the skeleton has more degrees of freedom, and it can do more asanas, yoga asanas, than the best of yoga practitioners. And you look at the back, how this is made. You can see very clearly that these are staples, just an ordinary staple at home. So this is the staple which the arm and the hand, and you can see the movement. So very simple things, but the degrees of freedom it gives is simply amazing. This is one. Similarly, we have made a rattlesnake like this. You see the back of this rattlesnake. So all the little parts of the snake, the backbone of the snake are hinged, and it can do all kinds of, it becomes topsy-turvy, it can turn, and that's a snake. So using simple concept, if there is simplicity in it and no commercial aspect to it, then many, many more people will benefit by it. The poorest child should benefit by it. Now, this is a toy which has been a darling of physicists for the last 100 years. Nothing new about this. It's been around for 100 years. You take a pencil with a rubber on one end. Suppose there's some mistake, then you can rub it off with the pencil. Now, I've just made a few notches. Can you see these notches over here? There are 5 or 6 deep notches with a pen knife. Make a V, deepen it, so it's quite deep now. Take a card sheet, rectangular card sheet, punch a hole in the middle, and then put a pin through this. Pin is embedded in the rubber of the pencil. Now this black rubber is like a stopper, otherwise my fan will fly away. Now I have a refill, ball pen refill in my hand, and if I rub the refill on the notches, it goes. Now this is not trivial physics. 6 major research papers to this. You don't need the $6 billion Hadron Collider to do this. Any child can do this. And schools are often very, very boring places. I've been to 3,000 schools. Many of them are extremely boring. And when a child gets bored, this is a survival toy. You just take it out. If you get bored of writing something, you can take out this toy and play for a little while. Entertain yourself. And this is how you survive school. So it's almost like a survival toy. Well, we make a lot of things with this is something which same toy which you saw just now, right? Now this is what the children taught us. I'll show you 2, 3 electrical toys. Now this is my favorite. 1990s, almost 30 years back since I documented this. But this is, in our ordinary home, the fan is a motor, the pump is a motor, the washing machine is a motor, the mixer is a motor, the cooler is a motor, the fridge is a motor, but no child ever makes a motor. Now this is, if you have a battery, this is 1.5 volt torch battery. It takes 5 rupees, so not a rich man's game at all. And if I just put this coil inside, 10 minutes to make this electric motor. Now, if children make a motor like this, you can see a gleam in their eyes. All Faraday's laws of induction, which they have learned very mechanically, mugged it out to clear an exam, would stand starkly clear. They would start thinking, how on earth does it work? And it is totally empowering. I can make it work. Very nice motor. I can tell you that there are literally lakhs of children who have made this motor from our website. It's something worth doing. It's not just the rich who can make it. Any child can make it and should make it. This was the motor, and now this is slightly more, but again, now this is called as a syringe generator. Now you see these magnets over here. These are called as neodymium magnets. Neodymium is an element in the periodic table. Now these are very strong, rare earth magnets. There are two of them sticking together. I can't separate them because they're so strongly embedded, attached to each other. This is an old syringe, and they go into the barrel of the syringe, and you can see that they move left to right. Okay, this is it. And I put a stop. So I can shake the magnets inside. Now I take 10 insulated copper wire, 1,000 turns of that. And there's a start and the end. I scrape them off, and I put a LED. That's it. Half an hour from start to end to make this project. If I shake the magnets, now look at this. What happens to the LED? We have made a generator. We are generating electricity. There is no battery inside it. This is how a 1,000 megawatt generator works in the same principle. The principle doesn't change. Imagine a girl in a village saying that today I can light an LED. Tomorrow I light my village. It's totally empowering for children to make something like this. And this is something which is a very delightful thing. This has got this something called as a levitating pencil. You must have read about bullet trains and maglev trains. So this would give you a small idea about, look at this. This pencil is just hanging. And if I give it a twirl, it's suspended in the air. And the magnets lift it. It spins, it levitates, and it writes. Something which costs 10, 12 rupees. And kids can have a very good idea about what maglev is all about. Right. Now I'm going to show you another toy, a very delightful toy. And the nicest thing is that this was made by, often we think that the teachers make the curriculum and the children must follow it. We tend to forget the children are original thinkers, right? They're not just consumers of knowledge, they're producers of knowledge, given the right conditions. Now, here's one. This is the Vidyapeethshala, a municipal school in the Pune University, where I worked for 11 years. So we ran a science club at this municipal school. The kids of the school showed us this. Now, this is a hoop from a plastic bottle with two holes, opposite holes, bicycle spoke. I take the bicycle spoke, weave it through one of the holes here, put two magnets, ring magnets inside this, and there you are. And if I leave this, it comes spin down. These are 6th class children of a municipal school capable of creating original knowledge. There is no reference in literature to a toy like that, but trust kids, they will come up with something very, very original. And then what we did later was, this is the paper cup. Have coffee, tea, throw it out. Just made a hole in the base and took two magnets. One magnet inside the cup and one on the base. And they stick to each other. You can see this, stick to each other. Take a bicycle spoke, just put it like this. This is what happens. Someday these, the Chinese are going to make this and sell it to us in India, right? Some of our toys, the most watched toys are by the Chinese, right? Because one day they would commercialize. They're very good at that. Well, I also want to show you, this is something, a favorite of mine, is this. If you take, this is A4 size paper, if I take half this paper, half A4 size paper, I can make a scale model of a skeleton. This comes from, this is not original, this comes from the VSO, Science Teacher's Handbook. Now, just half of the A4 size paper, you make the skull, you make the rib cage, you make the pelvis, tibia, fibia, there are 200 odd bones in the human body. Imagine a third, fourth class kid. If they cut them and stick it bone by bone, they're never going to forget how the human skeleton is. And this is a great model for exploring some deeper biases that we have in society. Is the skeleton of a man or a woman? Is this a Hindu, a Muslim, a Christian, a Parsi? We have all this poison dinned into our heads. The Genome Project only demonstrated that 99.999% of our genes are the same. Why do people kill each other in the name of language, in the name of religion, when there is such universality across human beings? So this is not just a biology project, but a project to explore some very deeper biases which society has given us. We make a lot of toys from Tetra Paks, old Tetra Paks, because they are terrible from the point of view of the environment. Now you can see this is 1 liter fruit juice box. We make it to a very, very nice purse, pocket purse. You can see there is some money over here, the 10 rupee note, and you can put coins. How do you make it? I'll just show you the small, this is 200 ml. So you cut off one of the flaps, push both these inside, double this up. And you can see the 2 middle walls, you staple the 2 middle walls. And so this becomes a small purse. There's a detailed video which you can see. Another very nice thing is these are these fruity boxes. If you look at a fruity box, this is a Amul Lassi box, 200 ml. If you measure the height, the width, and the length, and you multiply them, you get the volume of this barrel by 200 ml. If you cut this into half, you have 100 ml. So they make very nice measuring cups, measurement of volume. This is cut into a quarter. This holds 50 ml. Now, the nice thing about this is that I just take this and I fill this with water. Right up to the top. How much water inside this? 100 ml. How much water have I drunk? 100 ml. And then I can take my cup, flatten it, and put it in my pocket. So every child can carry their own measuring cylinder in their pockets. The whole day they would be measuring, and soon they'd get a very refined feel for volume. Right? This is what. Well, I have 5 more minutes before I end. I'm going to show you 2-3 more toys. Now, one of my favorite toys is you have a capsule. It's an old capsule. And in this capsule, what I've done, this is a steel ball, a ball bearing. This is again documented in Sudarshan's book. So there is a steel ball bearing inside this. And here is a kind of you can see a channel. I made a transparent channel because with paper, you'll not be able to see it. It's the transparency. And I've just put this. Now look at this, what it does. It's so very nice. You can see this, a tumbling capsule. Just a ball bearing inside. So if you have old capsules at home, empty out the medicine and put a ball bearing and make it all like that for you. Well, in the end, I'm going to tell you this story. We make lots and lots of caps. One of the most popular caps is a cricket cap because cricket is India's favorite game. And this is Sachin Tendulkar's cricket cap, right? Half a newspaper. And when you're folding a cap, it's like a geometry laboratory. All the polygons which you've heard about in the abstract, you're actually folding them. And in the end, you make a cap which fits very beautifully on a child's head. The nice thing about this cap is you can fold this and keep it in your pocket. I always keep one because I have no hair in my head. Going in the sun, it comes in very, very handy. And this is the Gandhi cap. Again, half a newspaper. And it's a very nice national cap. Well, in the end, I'm just going to tell you one very nice story. It's called a Captain's Hat story. And if you've not heard about, his name was Topi Shankar. And he was a captain of a sea-going ship. And as you know that a sea-going ship sails very, very slowly. It takes several weeks, several months before it goes from one port to the other. There were many passengers on the ship, and when the first few days they enjoy their sea journey, but after a few days, all they see is a wide blue ocean, not a patch of land, not a tree. They become seasick. They become utterly bored. Topi Shankar was a very clever man. So there were 200 passengers on ship, and he saw them getting bored. He invited them on deck. And he said that, well, now you can sing and dance, and I'll provide you with good food and drinks. So the passengers were very happy. Every day they had a gala picnic. And Topi Shankar would join them every day wearing a new cap. So it's a huge umbrella cap. If the captain is standing on the deck, it protects him from the scorching sun, protects him from the rain. So this is the umbrella cap is cap number one. And the second day, well, he would take the same cap and give it 2 more folds. And the second day, he would be wearing a fireman's cap. You can see a chute at the cap, at the back behind, because firemen wear a designer cap. Because they enter a burning house, if some rubble falls, it must protect the spinal cord. So that's why they shoot. So second is the fireman's cap. Second night, he would give it 1 more fold. Third day, it would be a shikari cap, an adventurous cap, an explorer's cap. And third night, when passengers would be asleep, Topi Shankar would give it 2 more folds. And the fourth day, he would be wearing this is, in Maharashtra, Mumbai makes the maximum number of Bollywood films. And if you see any policeman, any cop over there, they always wear a cap. In Maharashtra, this is called as a Pandu cap. This is international, reached international heights, the Pandu cap. So 4 caps. And first is the umbrella cap, second is the fireman's cap, third is the shikari cap, and fourth is this policeman's cap. And we must not forget that Topi Shankar, after all, he was a captain of a ship. So that's a ship. And everyone was enjoying the journey very much. They were singing and dancing, good food, good drinks, and all good things must come to an end. Suddenly there's a storm. There is lightning, there are black clouds and stars to pour cats and dogs, a very heavy downpour. And the sea is on fire, and there are huge waves in the sea. What can a poor ship do? It is rocking and pitching with the waves, and then a huge wave comes in and slaps the front of the ship and knocks it. The ship is sinking. All the passengers are very, very terrified. Another huge wave comes and slaps the aft of the ship. So the front and the back is gone, and the ship is sinking. And this triangular portion of the ship is called as a bridge. And a third huge wave comes and slaps the bridge. And now the ship is broken to smithereens. The ship sinks, and captain has lost all his caps. All that remains is a little life jacket. I'll end with this. Thank you very much for seeing all these toys, and I hope that during this lockdown, you go to my website and Rohini would share all my books with you. They're in a Google Drive, all my 25 books you can download. And I hope you to make a lot of toys. Not just make toys, help your neighboring children to make these toys, because make life fun for them. Thank you very much. And now you can ask me any questions which you like. I'll answer them.
It's the most exciting, show I had on my channel. Most exciting, and I'm not being boastful or anything. I'm not even modest. This is the most exciting show on a Sunday for me. Now, children, we have 15 minutes exactly. If anybody wants to ask a question, unmute yourself, both video and audio, and ask your question.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure. Identify yourself. Tell your name and then ask the question.
My name is Arudra, and I'm just wondering, so I was wondering, on a large scale, how do you generate a big amount like 1.21 gigawatts or something like that?
So, well, you were talking about the generator, right? Well, that's what the commercial people do. all these big electrical companies, the concept behind generating electricity is that when there is a moving magnetic field in a coil, it generates a current. It's a simple thing as this, and which is demonstrated by this. When I'm moving the magnets, that's a very powerful magnetic field, which is going left and right. And lines of force are being cut by this coil, and you see current. So, well, I'm not a commercial person. I would know, but this is what the commercial come. But the same concept is used in huge generators, as in this small, tiny generator. This is to help you understand the concept, right? It's not to sell electricity, but you can make, if you can light one LED, you can light a zillion LEDs one day.
Krishna and Dhruv, you can unmute and ask your question.
I don't have a question. Dhruv has.
Yes.
How do you get your inspiration? How did you get inspired, and how did you learn to do that?
Well, my inspiration is largely children. Many children in our country are not able to go to school. If they go to school, there is no science laboratory for them. I've been to 3,000 schools in my life, invited by about many, many schools. And I always say that I like to see a science lab. And if I go to the science lab, if they have a science lab, you would find that all the scientific equipment would be locked in cupboards, all the test tubes, bearers, pipettes. You can see them locked in cupboards. And if you're perceptive, you can see a grime of dust. Because all that equipment was meant for the inspector, not for the children. So there was a repulsion to this kind of thing. And I've seen this again and again in schools. So he said that we must do something which is from everyday objects, and any child should be able to do it, whether you do a PhD in science or don't do a PhD in science. Every child is a scientist inside her, and they should be able to enjoy science. So this is the deep inspiration. So I worked in a children's science center at IUCA, the Inter-University Center for Astronomy and Astrophysics, set up by a legendary person, Professor Jayant Narlikar, Padam Vibhushan, the most decorated Indian astrophysicist. He had a dream that they only get PhD students. He said, look, we must have a children's science center. We must imbue the love of science in them right from the inception. So he invited me to work over there, and we had a team of 3 people. 2 of my colleagues they're just most amazing people, the best people on earth. And together, every day we would do a new toy and document it. We have close to 9,000 videos on YouTube, many of them in Telugu. We have about 800 videos in Telugu. Someone was kind enough to dub them for us free, a school in Vizag. They did this for free for us. And today, from that small 400 square foot room, that's it. We had very little money, survival wage. But today, there are 100 million children, 10 crore children across the world who have seen our videos. So I think it's not the money. There are institutes flush with money who do very little. So it's not money alone. You need fire in your belly, and you must feel an acute need to reach out to others. And that's the motivation. And it's all for free.
Sumedha, you can ask your question.
I'm Sumedha. So, sir, you were showing us the capsule toy, right? So
Yeah.
I had one question. How did you insert the metal ball inside the capsule?
No, that's very simple. I can just show you. See, here is the metal ball. This is this ball which is probably using the pedal. And you can just see this. It just goes. I'm taking this and putting this inside the capsule, and I can put the cover. So that's it. And also, I must tell you that you can buy these capsules, empty capsules. You can buy empty capsules and put this in. They cost about 50 paisa each capsule. So they're not very expensive. For less than ₹1, you have an absolutely amazing toy. This is documented in Sudarshan's book, The Joy of Making Indian Toys. There's a history to it.
My son wants to ask a question. I did prompt him.
Please.
Sir,
Yes.
I'm Manasvi and I want to ask, what should I learn and do to become a toy maker? I wish to.
Well, I think you must make your own toys. Don't buy toys. You can buy some magnets. You can buy some wire. You can buy batteries. So buy the raw material, but don't buy finished toys. Right. Okay. The fun is to make your own toys. Now I'll tell you about the motor. Right. This motor is, no matter what you do, this is very simple. There's just two magnets over here. Very simple. This is a cycle tube, old cycle tube rubber band. Right. Because you don't get broad rubber bands over here. But no matter how many mistakes you make, you can always retrieve this toy and make it work. So it's a great challenge to make your own. No matter what you do with it, you can still make it work. So it's an excellent project to start with. Make your own motor and the chair. 70 years back, Rabindranath Tagore, India's Nobel laureate, who ran Shanti Niketan, said that the toy is completed when the child makes it, right? It's the child who must make the toy. It's very important. Nowadays, if you buy toys, the box is more expensive than the toy inside. This is their vision for children, toy makers, right? They're interested in your pockets, not in your brain, not in your happiness, right? That's what the toy. So clever people make their own toys, right? Yes. They will look at various toys and they figure out how to make them. That's a good way to start. Stop buying. Buy minimal toys, buy their raw material and make it. So that will make you more skilled. It will give you much deeper insights how the toy works. If it breaks down, you can always repair it. But if you buy something happens and you just don't know what to do with it. It's like a black box. Right?
We can buy some more raw material and add them.
Yes.
It look more beautiful. And
yes, you can buy a lot of straws, buy a lot of glue, buy a lot of ice cream sticks. All this should be there at home and make your own things. It's so much more fun.
Okay. Yes. Any other child?
Me.
Sumedha again? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, we'll give it to everybody, whoever wants.
వచ్చేసింది సంగీత వచ్చిందా స్టార్ట్ కావాలో అడుగు.
Put a hand on your screen. Yeah, you can go now, Sumedha.
So, sir, have you ever made any figurines or dolls? Because I've heard of people making them with clay and like stone and stuff. So I wanted to ask you if you made it.
No, I have not made. Not made. But I just show you one toy which we had. You can see this toy. Now, I was much more interested because I came from a science background and I was involved with the science program, not from an artist background. So, things which, over here we had put a doll and it would be a spinning, but what I had made was a windmill, but you can similarly make a doll over here with a skirt, a pleated skirt. And when you blow, the air stream strikes the pleats of the skirt and makes the doll spin. But I was interested in the spinning part of it.
Okay, sir, there's a question from Mr. Timothy. Hello, sir. This is Timothy from Do Science. Okay. I have a question. How a scientific education change a child's mindset about how they interact with society?
Well, I think it's a very difficult question to answer. I would just limit myself that if children, schools are very boring and boring places to be in. Most schools, not generalizing, but most schools are very boring places to be in. A kind of rotten curriculum, which is not interesting. Boring definitions to mug up and spit out, right? But this is not an exciting place for children. So if I can help children make small toys and make them happier, I think happiness, if they're happy children, they would challenge the system someday. They would ask basic questions of the system. So I would say that I try to instill a bit of happiness, ask and motivate them to ask questions about their projects. And hopefully, it's a big hope that someday they would ask larger questions about society. And I gave you the example of the skeleton, that you can probe some deeper questions or deeper biases and prejudices about society by some of these. That's my very limited motivation. Any other questions, please?
My sister has a question.
Please. Go ahead.
Uttaran, I want to ask if you can make a doll out of popsicle sticks.
Well, you can make, I think, if you just apply your mind to it. I've seen people making dolls out of newspapers. They crumple newspapers and they make very, very beautiful dolls. And they roll papers and, tie thin thread on to make hands with them, legs with them, and they tie it all together. So it becomes a very adorable and made from old newspapers and thread. That's it. Very nice dolls. And then you can paint it and upload. So there are possibilities, amazing possibilities.
Anybody else? Any other child wants to ask a question? Anybody, any question is fine. Sumedha again. Sumedha and I seem to be the most inspired people in this. Yes, Sumedha, go please. Go on.
So, sir, you mentioned that you had a book about string games, right?
Yes.
So, in that, sir, is there anything about making stuff from wool or something? Because my grandmother, she used to make garlands out of wool, and she used to make those voodoo dolls sort of thing. Yeah. And she used to make a lot of things from wool. So
this book is you take a string and you tie a knot. So you make a loop. So basically with that loop, and many of these string tricks, they come from very ancient civilizations. As a matter of the Inuits, people who live in igloos, right? How would they spend the winters? So we take the reindeer gut and tie a knot to it and make a long loop. And long winters, they would be 24 for 6 months. There would be bright sunlight and they would be playing with them. So many of them have been done by very traditional people and they wove stories in them. So there's some 600-700 string tricks in the world. I chose 50 of the best and put them in a National Trust book. That's what I did. Because there was not a single book in this very huge country on string games. This is the first book 25 years back. And that was my motivation. And it costs no money. A piece of string, you can take sutali. You buy tie parcels, tie a string to it, and you have your game.
Sir, there's one question from a child.
Yes.
Sir, how can I make a tornado toy?
Well, tornado is, you can go to my website. There are several ways of making a tornado, but if you take 2 of these plastic bottles, right, take the lids and make a hole in them. And join the holes together with some glue and tape it. So you have a double lid, right? And and fill one bottle complete with water. Screw on this double lid, put an empty bottle. And now you upturn it. So the water is on the top. Shake it up and you will see a tornado coming down. It's very simple to make. Nowadays, people sell these twin lid. They sell. They made a die and they sell it for 20 rupees, 25 rupees. So you just have to screw. You don't have to do this much also. A very nice toy.
Sir, if I may say, my son made a tornado toy. I mean, he called it a tornado toy. Jam bottle.
Yes.
Soap solution. And he keeps twirling it and showing us the tornado.
Very nice.
It also keeps fading away slowly. It's like at the bottom, when it is starting to relax, it strikes like lightning.
Is it?
Yeah. It looks like lightning strikes when it is starting to relax.
And sir, there's an invitation to visit the school and do a hands-on session.
Well, when I visit Hyderabad next, it may be a little while because of the pandemic.
Yes. Sir, I'd like to have one photo with all the children.
Please.
So I'll ask them to
please.
All of you turn on your videos. We'll have a photograph which goes on to our certificates. All the kids, you can turn on your videos. Soumya, you didn't have a question? He's very active, sir. Soumya Sahu. He
I didn't have one today, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So shall I click the picture?
Well, one thing I would like to ask, sir.
Please.
I have been the biggest fan of Harry Potter ever since I've started reading the series, and I like making those wands that the characters have. So, like, whenever I make it, it happens that within a week or two, someone stands over it and it is gone. So, how can I make it harder, like, in terms of its strength?
Well, I think that if it, many times this happens. We make toys, and whenever we make toys, the best thing is to give it to children. Because if the way they're handling it, if it lasts, it's a very good test. So all your friends are very good test of the durability of your toy, right? If not, if they destroy it, which means there is something weak material, etc., etc. So you make it stronger, use stronger materials. So they are very good testers for you. They give you very good feedback about your toy.
Soumya, you can probably give it to your sister after you make it.
Yeah, I did it once or twice.
Okay. So any other questions, or shall we officially thank you? Did you enjoy this session? Would you like to, unmute
Thanks.
him? I can't hear.
Thanks. Thanks a lot. Bye.
To be honest, sir, I had been clapping uncontrollably when I was listening to it.
My son. You were saying, Mama. Okay. Thank you so much, sir. It's a pleasure having you, and I hope to have you again soon.
Well, let's see.
Yeah. Bye, sir.
Bye. I love you.
Thank you so much, sir. It was really fun.
Bye, Rohini.
Bye, sir.
Bye, sir.
Thank you,
Sir. Okay.
Thank you very much. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sharing his website for all the kids who asked later. You can arvindguptatoys.com. Okay, it is arvindguptatoys.com. I posted it in the chat box. Okay, if now that I have the contacts of your parents, I will also send it across as a WhatsApp message. But it is www.arvindgupta ARVINDGUPTA arvindguptatoys.com. Videos are beautiful. You can have fun watching them. Okay. See you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Rohini auntie. It was really nice. Thank you so much for inviting us.
Oh, please. My pleasure.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, all the teachers and the kids who joined. Bye-bye.